Hello， 各位媒体早安 ，Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the press conference today. 今天欢迎大家来到我们外交部的新闻例会。那我们今天很荣幸，我们请到我们欧洲司的司长姚金祥姚大使哦。那大家知道姚大使他以前是我们北美司的司长，然后派到瑞典当那个大使，然后现在回来当欧洲司的这个司长。So we're very pleased to have the presence of Ambassador Vincent Yao. He's Director General of European Affairs. I'm very delighted to invite him to brief today. So, Ambassador Yao, thanks.
各位媒体朋友，大家好，很高兴能够回到外交部，又担任司长的工作。今天没有什么特别的事情要报告，除了说我们下年度的台欧联结奖学金，因为过去2年，即便是在疫情的情况之下，事实上，报名的情况都非常踊跃。当然，我们因为受到了疫情的影响，跨国的人员移动也受到了很大的影响，所以去年跟前年2年的这个名额并没有全部用完。但是在疫情的情况之下呢，能有这么多人来报名，我们觉得是非常的正面。所以我们在明年年度，我们也匡列了700个名额的台欧联结奖学金的名额，然后呢，也增加了3个国家，从原来的26个国家增加到29个国家，包括冰岛、克罗埃西亚跟挪威3个国家是新增的。那另外就是在明年度，最多的名额当然还是在英国、法国、德国。其次就是 V4 国家以及立陶宛。以上报告，请问各位有没有问题跟欧洲有关的？如果跟欧洲没有关的，我就把时间交给我们的发言人。没有，好，谢谢各位，谢谢各位，以后有机会再聊。好，谢谢。
All right, I will take questions from here. So, any questions? 媒体有没有现场的？有没有 any other questions from the media or? Yes, Brent. Yes, Brent from Sky News, right? Yeah, welcome to Taiwan. Yes, Sky
Thank you
News.
very much.
澳洲新的驻台记者。
What does the Taiwanese government make of statements which came out of the recent bilateral meetings between President Xi and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese? I wonder if you're encouraged at all by the comments the leaders made regarding Taiwan, and is there anything you think Prime Minister Albanese should consider as Australia attempts to improve relations with Beijing?
Yeah, thank you very much from your questions. I think it's important not only to see the meeting between Prime Minister Albanese and President Xi, and also the meeting. I think it's important to put in the framework of meeting of the Prime Minister with also President Joe Biden, and also in their meeting on November, I believe, was 13. They took place first, the meeting of President Biden with Prime Minister Albanese first, bilateral meeting. And I think then later it was November 15th, I believe, took place the meeting between Prime Minister Albanese and also President Xi Jinping. So let me just approach the issue in these two regards. Regarding the meeting of President Joe Biden with Prime Minister, we think it's very important that the maintenance of the Taiwan Strait, peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait was highlighted on several occasions. President Joe Biden, he emphasized also in his meeting with President Xi Jinping that the U.S. one China policy has not changed, and that the U.S. opposes any unilateral changes of the status quo by either side of the Taiwan Strait, and that the world has an interest in the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Also, President Joe Biden conveyed the U.S. objection to China in person in his meeting with President Xi Jinping on November 14th, and that he clearly objects the U.S. Opposition to China's coercive and increasingly aggressive action towards Taiwan, which he believes that the Chinese action undermine peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, the broader region, and also jeopardize global prosperity. In that regard, between the meeting of President Biden with President Xi Jinping, we conveyed our appreciation, our thanks, and we also encouraged that the U.S. has publicly declared the U.S. Determination to support the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, and also the U.S. commitment to Taiwan security. And in that regard, I think the U.S. has shown once again the rock-solid commitment to Taiwan security. And it's important as well, not only during President Biden with President Xi Jinping's meeting, also President Biden met actually with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Also in November 13th, the meeting took place in Cambodia and Phnom Penh in the East Asia meeting. And during that meeting, according to the White House statement, both leaders, the U.S. President and Prime Minister Albanese, both leaders recognized the imperative of maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, which means that the Taiwan security was raised again in a meeting of President Biden with Prime Minister Albanese, and we highly appreciate that. Now, going back to your question as well, it's about the meeting that took place between Prime Minister Albanese and President Xi Jinping, and that took place on November 15th during the G20 meetings. And we believe that Australia has conveyed the Australian interest for the international peace and security, and that I think the Prime Minister Albanese expressed directly to China about defending the values of Australia, and that we encourage that he has not really withdrawn from the Australian national interest and has expressed to China very clearly what Australia stands and its value, and also opposition to unilateral changes, and in defending a rule-based international order. In that regard, I also would like to highlight that Taiwan has an interest in strengthening its relationship with Australia. As both countries, we have the shared values of human rights, democracy, rule of law. And we both countries believe in the free market when we both countries safeguard the human rights. And we're both countries safeguarding for the peace and stability of the whole Eastern Asia countries and of the Indo-Pacific region, that we want it to be free, we want it to be open, and we want it to be prosperous. In that regard, Taiwan and Australia, we have common values and common goals, and we look forward to enhancing our relationship and cooperation with Australia under leadership of Prime Minister Albanese, and also with all our Australian friends, that we have many Australian friends in different domains. And we also look forward to the continuous support of Australia in voicing its support for Taiwan's participation in international organizations. And we appreciate Australian government have highlighted the imperative of maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, opposition to any unilateral changes of status quo, and that the security of Taiwan not only concerns between China and Taiwan, it actually concerns the global interest. So that is more or less an overall explanation how we see not only the meeting of Prime Minister Albanese with President Xi, but also we take into account of his meeting with President Joe Biden of the United States, and in this G20 meeting and East Asia Summit, and in all this occasion in not only in Cambodia but also in Indonesia. Yeah.
A follow-up question, if I may.
Yes.
There is a lot of excitement in Australia regarding that recent bilat between President Xi and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Does
Yes.
Taiwan have any concerns of this growing, perhaps warming relations between Canberra and Beijing? And perhaps do you have any sort of concerns that this may alter perhaps Australia's position on Taiwan, or any concerns in that regard?
I think we are fully confident that the current Australian government, they can safeguard its own values of democracy, freedom, and human rights. I believe a good relationship with China, a good relationship with Taiwan is not mutually exclusive in our regards. We believe all countries around the world, they can be friends with China, but also at the same time, they can also have good relationship with Taiwan. And actually, it's important to have good relationship. Well, Taiwan and China, we're very different. With two different countries with two different values and systems. And with Australia, we have so many things in common. We share the common values, freedom, democracy, human rights, and also in terms of economic interaction. We have so many areas of cooperation that we can enhance our cooperation together. Obviously, we face the very similar common challenges in the region. But having said that, it doesn't, from our side, relationship with Taiwan is not mutually exclusive relationship with China. But there is a common language between Australia and Taiwan, and that is the maintenance of the peace and stability, that the status quo should not be altered by either side, and that any differences should be resolved by peaceful ways and through dialogue, not recurring to the use of force. And that is important, the peace across the Taiwan Strait, to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific region that is guaranteed for the freedom of navigation, freedom of transit, and that therefore we have like a prosperous, a region, and also, safeguard the rules-based international order. Yeah, you're most welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, 其他的提问? Oh. Okay, if there's no any other, thank you for the questions, Sky News, and thanks to President CNN, Eric, our producer, and also 谢谢今天大家的那个参与啊。那如果大家有提问的话，可以也会让我们知道。好，谢谢大家。Thank you very much. Thank you.